Topical map, misconceptions, and common mistakes. Tell you what, I could talk about this all day long because I've made plenty of mistakes when I've done these. But today I'm joined with Germans Frolovs, and let's jump straight into it. What's the most common mistakes that you're seeing with people creating a topical map?
The most common mistakes when it comes to topical map creation, I would say, is not properly defining the first five core components of the topical map. Let's say, let's assume that in most cases, source context could be properly defined, but then, yeah, maybe people will go, yeah, too broad, saying, oh, we help people do this and that, but then actually, what do you do? Are you a software provider, or how do you, like at the core, what do you do? Try to shorten that, make it more specific. Sometimes I see that maybe a product marketing person would have, speak more from the benefits side and define that incorrectly. But then after that, of course, it's finding the central entity. The most common mistake there is that people are not basically finding the entity that is the broadest and the most kind of like popular and defined entity within that topic. Sometimes it's going to be some kind of entity plus the attribute pair already, not necessarily the broadest entity for that topic. And then the core section, typically people know how to define that. Essentially, those are the money pages. So that is typically quite easy to do. Another mistake in the outer section, kind of like a place when you try to define that, is that because the central entity won't be defined properly, you actually don't know where to go and in what kind of like related entities you can expand upon. So all these kind of like combined is that the biggest mistake is probably if you haven't defined the core components properly, everything else is going to fall apart after that, because that's the biggest, let's say, first strategic decision point you need to make. After that, the next biggest mistake would be that sometimes I see that we create concept maps as part of real or instead of real topical maps or encyclopedia kind of like dictionaries without representing the whole, let's say, knowledge domain in a way that is also connected to your business. And maybe last one, the most common mistake would be that there is a misconception or kind of like guessing around when to open a page, where not to open a page. Like we talked about it earlier in a different episode. But yeah, this is sometimes a very, very common mistake where people create or specify that, yeah, we need a page for this topic, but the query doesn't even exist. It's just because conceptually it should have been there, but from the search engine perspective, they don't see that as a query for which they created as search results, let's say page or index.
Yeah, and then with regards to misconceptions of a topical map, can you explain why a topical map isn't just a list of keywords that are clustered together?
Yeah, so typically maybe how I also, when I started doing SEO, it is just find the main term and then find all the variations of that term. It is small part of how you could also maybe start creating a topical map once you have defined your core components. But that's essentially sometimes where it ends. We are not going and necessarily focusing on the most important entity plus the attribute pairs within our topical map. We just go with exact match, phrase match, export the list, and cluster them. That's where the story ends. We don't go necessarily in traditional SEO into sometimes more related entities as opposed to how we do it, let's say, in the real topical maps. Also, the misconception is that or kind of like ordinary or traditional SEO might have been around imitating the SERP or competitors a lot, but actually in the whole semantic SEO, let's say, way, we aim to actually be the representative source of the whole cluster. So instead of just looking at what they did, yes, we can still look at it and take inspiration and cover that as a baseline at least, if it's relevant. But we want to go above that. We want to have the most, let's say, structured and factually correct and accurate information structured on our website. So just copying competitors is not enough. Maybe also there's a misconception that just having more pages, more topics, that's always better. But in the semantic SEO, we heavily think about prioritizing the lower cost of retrieval, and actually by opening up a new page every time, you're decreasing your page rank site-wide or page rank per page. So knowing when to open a page, when not to open a page, when to consolidate, that is something that it's very important to think about. Also, maybe the cluster keyword list is just a sometimes one-time thing, we think, in this ordinary SEO or traditional SEO, but when it comes to topical maps, they are treated as dynamic and always changing, depending on maybe semantic distance changes. When the core algorithm update comes, there might be some new topics that are coming up, or maybe topics that are connected to a different one in a different way. So the distance between topic changes. According to that, you might need to merge pages, consolidate them, or actually split into more pages if the topic is growing and there are more popularity around that topic. The source context, I think, is another big thing that we talked about recently, that through topical maps really prioritize that, while just the cluster keyword list probably is going to be ignoring that. I think that is all what I had in mind.
And then what would you say the most damaging mistake is when people are making a topical map?
Opening probably too many pages for queries that don't have a query at all.
Yeah, and then obviously with regards to that, anyone who's listening to this, make sure you check out the link in the description where there's a site radius score, and we go into depth about how wide should you go, how many pages should be opening pages, should you not be opening pages. There's also all the different, like the difference between a semantic content network and a topical map, which then can kind of cluster everything together. With regards to the misconception then, like, why is it important for people not just to go and export all keywords in Ahrefs or SEMrush, use a clustering tool and think, I've now got a topical map? Obviously, we went to town, we went into detail about a high level topical map and the difference between it. Can you just debunk the difference between a high level topical map versus just grabbing keywords and thinking, okay, I've done what you've said and I've followed it and it's not worked?
Yeah, the biggest difference is that you're going to be missing a lot, and probably also maybe covering something that's not that much relevant to your business context and should not be a page. Maybe it could be just a side topic mentioned as a section of a, let's say, bigger page. That will be the biggest difference, because when creating real topical maps, we can really find a lot more and create a much better, much better organized and correct representation of a knowledge domain of all the data in our website.
Yeah, and then one last one. In the Semantic SEO community, when we posted this question and did a survey, like what are the most damaging mistakes that people make when creating a topical map? Two things popped up, and one of them was cloning and copying your competitor's sitemap, and the other one was just solely chasing search volume, so impressions and clicks, and solely chasing those two things. Why are those mistakes bad to do? Because people say, "Oh, here's my competitor. Surely I want to at least copy what they have and then build upon that." Why is that? Why can that be damaging?
I would say I would always still use competitor sitemaps and what they are covering, and then use that data to then, of course, go through my thought process as well to see whether it is relevant and it's going to be as part of our topical map. It's always a part of, let's say, the full process of topical map creation, but solely relying on that is not enough. And then also chasing the volume, it's still, I would say, it is important if it can be done right, if it can provide you good historical data. If you're just chasing volume and all that user interaction doesn't end up with the most important function, like action related to the function that you provide on the website, that is going to be damaging. If you are on a website about, I don't know, AI image generator, then you're just having pages about famous gifts and you get millions of traffic just because people want the gifts and then they leave, but they don't end up using your tool, that is going to be quite a problem.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, the main mistakes always seem to be when you're not giving the right inputs right from the start. So giving the right source contact, giving the central entity. If you give as much information at the front end to the experts, they will create you a good semantic content network and a good topical map. Make certain anyone who's watching this check out the episode about the source context and the importance of getting that source context correct and giving it to the people, the freelancers or the experts that's going to be creating your high level topical map. Germans, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we hope you like this episode on the topical map misconceptions and common mistakes. Cheers.